Okay, appreciate everybody being here. Happy with the win, which we needed to keep pace. And now we're heading into the challenge this Saturday against Pittsburgh. Very important game for a lot of reasons, and we're going to need to be at our very best. They're an excellent football team. We're ready for the challenge. What questions you guys have?
John, we just saw the statement that was released about Deontay Johnson about mutually agreeing to not participate in team activities this week. After this week, do you foresee him practicing with the team again?
What I foresee, really, to be honest with you, and all I'm really thinking about right now is Pittsburgh and getting our team ready for Pittsburgh. So he won't be here this week, and next week will take care of itself.
John, I guess just one quick follow-up on that. I mean, why did you guys decide to handle it that way and not simply release it?
I'm really interested in Pittsburgh Steelers, to be honest with you. I know you guys want to hear the story. There's a lot of moving parts. There are reasons for doing things that are front office type reasons, you know. Do I want to sit here and get into all the different calculations that Eric makes? I really don't. I want to think about Pittsburgh and our team getting ready for Pittsburgh and the guys who are going to be here playing against Pittsburgh. That's my focus, 100%.
John, what are the challenges? We talked about how big of a game this is, obviously going up against the Steelers, but you play them on a short week. Both of you guys are playing on a short week. Just what are the challenges for those off-the-field challenges at this time of the year, and also just how big of a game this is in the grand scheme of things?
Well, I mean, it's a challenge for both teams. You know, we're both playing on the same deal. We both played Sunday, and we're playing each other on Saturday. So that's just it. You need to adjust the schedule. It's a little shorter game planning type of a operation than you would have, but we play each other enough where I don't think that's a problem for either team. And guys got to do a great job taking care of themselves, you know, getting ready for the game that's going to be in terms of their bodies, you know, and then making sure they get the game plan right. You know, we want to get our football right. That's what we want to do. We want to prepare, you know, to the best of our ability so we can go out there and play our best, you know, and be on point in that game, just like we do every week, really. I mean, it's really not any different than any other week. So we're ready to do that, and we're excited for it, and I can't wait for the guys to come walking in tomorrow morning.
How much has that last encounter eated you, if at all, because of the fact that it was such a winnable game?
You know, I've watched that game a number of times now last week. I mean, I watched it. We got ahead with a bye week and everything. Watched it again this morning, and so much to learn from that game. So much to learn from all the games, really. But every game's at the same time. Every game's different, even though they seem like they're the same. The scores are about the same. It seems like. I'm talking about over 17 years and even beyond that. But every game is different, you know, and try to learn from it and try to do your, you know, where we're at, where they're at, what we need to do to try to win this game, play our best football. That's what we're focused on.
John, I know a lot of players said that you didn't even, when you played the Giants, didn't even address their record. That was not even brought up. Will you bring up kind of the magnitude, because this is such a big game, will you bring up the magnification, you know, from this game?
Probably don't have to. I mean, I always talk to the guys about, you know, big picture. We talk briefly about the big picture, then we always come back to 1-0. You know, we start 1-0. That's our focus. Here's the big picture. The big picture is this is our opportunity to win the division. You know, we have to win this game to have an opportunity to win the division. And then let's do everything we can do to be 1-0, you know, and put our best foot forward.
John, can you put into perspective just how big of a game it was for those rookies to step up like they did against the Giants, especially needing them down the stretch? Yeah, I think that's a great point. You know, for those guys to get a chance to play as much as they did in the fourth quarter, and even guys who played throughout the course of the game, like Tez, you know, he played here and there the whole game, played on special teams. They all played well. I mean, that was great to see. It just appreciated seeing that. I think this rookie class is a really good class. I think it's got a great future, and they're already contributing.
John, seen movement over the last 3, 4, 5 weeks at inside linebacker, the spot next to Roquan. Do you feel like you're getting a good feel for, you know, what you want there in terms of what Chris Ford's doing, you know, maybe more of the passing situation and Malik Harrison maybe playing against the run a little bit more?
I do. I think we're kind of finding that a little bit, and you mentioned those two guys. They played really well. Malik played well. Chris played well, and Trent played well when he went in. So to see that, I think from a standpoint of Trent, it's good for Trent to maybe takes the pressure off him a little bit. Let him. He's a young guy, and he plays all heart, and he cares so much. So he can kind of take a breath a little bit, just in terms of his picture, his side of it, and come back in there like he did in the game and play well. Then for Malik to get this opportunity to prove himself, he's been working hard for that opportunity, and he's done great with it. And Chris Board, same thing. I mean, he's even more of a veteran guy, and I know those guys appreciate that, and they're making the most of it.
John, along those lines then, so with Trenton, is that kind of the game plan moving forward for now, or sort of see how things go with that?
Yeah, we'll see week to week, week to week.
John, we saw Jordan Stout kick off. Was that just a function of the score and you felt like why not give it a look, get some game reps on it, or is that kind of a plan going forward?
It could be the plan going forward at times, but the fact that he can do it, getting him out there in a game was a big deal. You know what I mean, Jeff? I mean, he hasn't really been out there in a real regular season game yet, just to kind of get the feel for doing it. And you can see how good he is at it. I mean, we've seen him in practice pretty much every day, or when we do kick off. Strong leg. To have that option, is a plus.
You mentioned the rookie class. Nate Wiggins had a lot of action in this game, a lot of one-on-ones with neighbors, and held up really well. Where have you seen Nate make strides?
When you watch corners, I mean, it's a technique game out there. It's a fundamentally sound game. It's a tough position to play. You're on the island, as they say, and you have to do everything exactly right. From beginning to end, from when the ball snapped and the receiver makes his release, or if you're in zone, or you make him run past read, if you're a primary force guy, if you're not, all those different things, where your eyes are at, where your feet are at, where your hands are at, your leverage. There's a lot of detail to the position, and I think he's making progress across the board with that. And yet, he knows he's got a whole career's worth of improvement in front of him still. But he's doing a good job. He's made a lot of progress. He's doing well.
John, with the kicking out, Justin Tucker obviously didn't have to be used in a field goal game, but on the extra points, it looked like he went from a couple of times on the right hash, and I believe he moved into the middle of the field as well. Was there any reason for that? Was it win factor? What kind of went into the thought process?
Yeah, it was kind of a win decision that he and Randy made. They've done that before in the past. He's kicked it from all three spots in the past, but that's what they talked about in terms of going to our right, the right side of our bench. I think it was he was on the right hash, then going the other way. I think he was in the middle, if I'm correct about that. That's how I remember it.
Lamar's always put up some fantastic numbers. Lamar has always kind of put up these fantastic numbers. The one team that has kind of been his challenge has been the Steelers. I'm sure there's a lot of intricacies to say it, but is there something generally that the Steelers do, they have done well to kind of limit Lamar that other teams have not been able to do?
Well, I mean, they've created plays. They've created plays against us. They've had sacks. They've had some timely sacks, some timely turnovers, timely stops. They've managed to do that, and that's what it is. That's what winning games is. And they've done a good job of that.
John, similar to Roger Rosengarten, had another really solid game yesterday. I mean, do you feel like over the last month he's kind of gone from really promising player to just a good starter?
I think Roger's doing a great job, Charles. I mean, he's definitely playing winning football at right tackle. So that's what you look for, And I think another guy, kind of talking about those rookies, about the question about the rookies, he's really establishing himself out there and done a nice job. And I like the way he looks out there.
Similarly with Tre'Davious, I know you talked about him last week, but how significant is it to have him be, seemingly like pretty dependable throughout the course and continuing to get better kind of every week?
Yeah, it's very significant. I mean, he's established himself probably as a three-down player. He's gone from a run-down player to a guy that's out there all the time. Had a play where he retraced, on a draw and made a great play. He's kind of doing everything well right now.
I know you're focused on this game, but you're still in a span of 3 games in 11 days. Well, this week, I think you're losing 1 day this week. will practice, do you have to adjust anything with practice this week, losing one day, or will it be kind of similar?
Yeah, I mean, we will. We'll still got to get our guys going, and we'll still be out there tomorrow. We'll go out there and practice tomorrow and try to move a little bit. And I'll just kind of decide as practice goes along and then we'll for sure the full practice the next day, and then Thursday, that'll be kind of a see where they're at numbers wise and how we're looking and feeling. So a little bit of a plan, but also a little bit of a feel.
And then for next week will be kind of your usual Thursday where you're doing much just because it's, or Wednesday, I'm sorry, because it's such a short week.
Right, the 4-day week. It'll be a 4-day week schedule. We usually go 1 day fast on that week. But again, whether we do that or do less or do a little more, I don't know. But it'll be along those lines. Yeah.
John, we asked you about the penalties yesterday, but now that you got your eyes on the film, just anything that sticks out specifically from the defensive pass coverage penalties.
Yeah, I mean, it's they're calling them tight. That's what sticks out. And we play man. And when you've got you're covering downfield and you got your back to the quarterback, it's important, really important to get your eyes around and play the ball. Not late. We got them around, but we were probably I don't know in the eyes of the referees a little late, so we got to learn from that. And then be careful with we say to the guys all the time. One of the things that we say is you cover with your feet, you play the ball with your hands, and you play the ball with your eyes as well. So we just got to keep working on that. It's a technique thing, and we've covered well, So eliminating those pass interference penalties, it's a very costly penalty, especially downfield. That's really a big part of it. Like we said, if those penalties hadn't happened, or just a few of them hadn't happened, they wouldn't have probably had any points, and that would. I think we played to the level of that, of them not scoring, especially because we had a couple big stops. We had to stop on the goal line and had to stop on downs, right? So, and we had the turnover at the end. So you kind of want to get rewarded for that, So if we can eliminate the penalties, that would be a little truer indication, I think, of how we played.
What's your approach to coaching off that? I mean, like with the two penalties that Brandon got, do you sit down with him and break those down in micro detail, or is it more just sort of re-emphasizing the broader rules that you're just talking about?
No, it's micro detail. I mean, it's both. You look at it's always an application. It's an application of the big picture. The understanding of how you do it, any kind of a technique, right? Then you apply the principles of that to the situation, and sometimes it's unavoidable. It's like there's not much you can do there. We might have had a play. One of our players was in pursuit, and another guy he should have stayed inside out on the ball carrier. That's a principle when you're inside out. Inside hip, inside half. You go full speed, drop your weight, run through the tackle. And he ended up the ball across his face back inside. It should never really happen. But when we watched the tape, I told him on the train, man, when I watch the tape, I can see what happened. He got fooled a little bit by the angle of the other player. So sometimes there's mitigating factors. Other times it's pretty clear. But we break it down. We break every play down with every player about as detailed as you possibly can. That's where the position coaches really break it down. And then, for me, I'll pick my spots, and the coordinators pick their spots.
John, with Brandon Stevens in particular, people talk about how sticky he is in coverage and how he's in good position so often, and finding the ball for him is an issue. Are there concerns with the penalties and the fact that teams could be targeting him deep because they're seeing that same stuff on film?
Sure, that's what teams do. That's what teams do. They look for their opportunities.
John, similarly to Child's question about coaching Stevens, when you look at Matabike's penalty on, I guess driving the quarterback to the ground, I know technique-wise that 10 years ago that would have been great, but how do you kind of teach these guys to hit the quarterback these days?
Yeah, we do it with pads. So we have, sometimes it's the dummy. We never really it's hard to put a live body in there and do that. Some of I might volunteer a couple of our coaches to do that this week. Matt Robinson, our outside backer coach, seems like a good guy. Maybe he's kind of built like a quarterback. He's young. He'd probably take it. So, but yeah, we try to drill it. I mean, to me, it's as much as a feel thing as anything, but it's not easy to drill. He came around there a little bit blind, not making excuses. I think he was, the quarterback was on him pretty quick. But, it's something you just have to do. You just have to hit him and you have to come off to the side. You got to turn off to the side. And he knows it. He knew it right away. You know, and he was disappointed with it as well. So we'll drill that. We'll drill all those things. I mean, those things will be drilled. You go to practice, you talk about it, you look at it on tape, you study it, you break it down in detail, like Child said. Then you go out there and you have a drill for it that applies to the specific situation. And you're always chasing that execution.
John, you changed your starting punt returner from Tylan Wallace to Desmond King after the Philadelphia Eagles game. Just what did you see over the bye week and over the practice week to promote King from the practice squad to that starting role?
Yeah, Des has been a really good player in this league. Both as a defensive back and as a special teams guy and as a punt returner. So he's always been good back there. He's always caught the ball well. He's made yards, and he looked good in practice. He looked really fundamentally sound. He's just got a lot of experience. He's caught a lot of punts over the years, and you could see it. You could just see it in practice. Definitely, I was anxious. I was excited to see him out there in the game doing it, and I thought he looked really solid, sound out there, and they got the big middle return, so he did a good job.
With that starting role, do you see that as a guy keeps that position until they make a mistake? Is it more of a fluid thing because Tylan Wallace was there and then you kind of move back and forth? How do you go about the starting rotation or role of that return duty?
Just like every position, yeah. Just like every position, it's based on circumstances, production, performance, opportunity, all those things. In the end, it's what's best for the team. What is best for the team. Des will be the punt returner next week, and starting, and Tylan will be right there. We didn't down on Tylan Wallace at all. He's a young punt returner. He's only had, 20 returns or something like that in his whole career. But he's done a great job. I think he's had a touchdown, right, and some big returns. So I like the fact that we have a little depth now too, So it's a good situation for us.
John, did you guys get out of Sunday's game pretty good health-wise?
What's that?
Did you get out of Sunday's game pretty good health-wise?
We did.
All right, John,
Great.
I saw Armour Davis didn't play. Was that just nothing specific?
He had a pre-game issue, injury issue, soft tissue issue, injury-wise, not too serious, but probably would have been risky putting him out there, as it turned out.